Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are having the most wonderful day of your entire stinking life. Today we are going through my Kindle Unlimited TBR for fantasy romance books. I feel like I mainly read fantasy romance on Kindle Unlimited because it's impeccable, it's so stinking good. And we have 25 books on this list, so I hope that you're excited. If you are, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Let's talk about some books. To start off, I have mentioned a handful of these in my monthly reset video for May because some of these are on my May TBR, so I'm going to quickly run through those that I've already mentioned. I will leave my May monthly reset blog linked up above and down below if you want to hear a little bit more about these books. Also, there's so many on this list that I'm not going to go through like full synopses for these. It's going to be pretty like quick and easy. I'm going to talk about what made me put these books on my TBR, which I usually don't read full summaries for books. I go off of like a couple of key things. Okay, so the few that I've already mentioned that are on my May TBR, I have A Touch of Poison, which is the second book in the Shadows of the Tenebrous Court series. This is by Claire Sager. It is giving Regency era fantasy romance. There is magic in it, there's lots of drama, there's lots of chaos. In the first book, A Kiss of Iron, there is a deadly competition that's happening, so if those things appeal to you, it is so fun, so spicy, so yummy. Then we have A Crown of the Gods, which is the fourth book in the Shadows and Crowns series by S.M. Gaither. I freaking love these books. I'm actually currently reading this book right now and I'm about 150 pages into it and eating up every single word and every single sentence. If you like Throne of Glass, you would love this series. It has gods meddling in the realm of mortals. There is a really interesting magic system. They're fighting monsters. There's a god of death. There's shadow magic. It's enemies to lovers in the first book. Absolutely stunning. To Snap a Silver Stem by Sarah A. Parker. This is the second book in the Crystal Bloom series. The first book is To Bleed a Crystal Bloom. This romance is very questionable, especially from the first book. It's definitely questionable. I haven't read the second book yet. It's on my TBR for May, like I said. This second book will be the determining factor if I decide to finish the, I think it's a trilogy, if I decide to finish the trilogy or not, but To Snap a Silver Stem. Fallen Stars by Amani Aru. I read Heavenly Bodies and absolutely loved it. This is the second book in that series, so this is on my Kindle Unlimited TBR. And then the last quick mention is To Bleed a Kingdom. This is by Ella Dawes. This book just came out in March. I've never read from this author before, but it's giving, in the summary, it said like a silly, goofy, fun time, but then it does have some more dark and violent moments to it. It's new adult, so it's going to be spicy. The last one that I'll mention actually in here, it's not on my May TBR, but it's like adjacent because I mentioned the second book in the Shadows of Tenebrous Court series. The third book, called A Promise of Lies, also by Claire Sager. It's getting released June 27th, so when our Romantasy-a-thon is going on, this book is getting released. I'm super excited for it. This is also on my Kindle Unlimited TBR, so throwing it in there because it is adjacent. It's also a third book in the series, so I'm not going to go through like a summary. Now that we've gotten through that handful, we will get into a little bit more detail with some of these. I have been seeing Beyond the Aching Door by Victoria Meyer everywhere. If you don't follow Charlie's Book Recs on Instagram, you absolutely should because she reads so much fantasy romance. I saw her mention this book first, and then most recently I saw Rachel from Raven Haired Reader mention it on her Romantasy TBR. She did a whole video for it. It's also incredible. I will link it down below because she is just the queen of Romantasy. But it sounds very interesting, and I've heard that it's a mix between like a Divine Rivals type book because one of our main characters is a mortal journalist, and also a study in drowning because there's a mysterious series of drownings, an exiled Fae king, a forgotten fate song, a single and desperate chance to save magic from extinction. It's inspired by Welsh mythology, Slavic folklore, and Arthurian legend. Beyond the Aching Door is an adult urban fantasy romance for fans of A Discovery of Witches, Dark Knight, Golden Dawn. I haven't heard of Dark Knight, Golden Dawn, but overall the vibes are vibing, and I need to see what this book is about because people that I know, love, and trust have raved about it. I did have, this is really sad, Apples Dipped in Gold by Scarlett St. Clair on this list. It was originally supposed to come out in July, but I believe the release date for this book has now been moved back to October. But this is her fairy tale retelling series. That's what it's called. The first book is called Mountains Made of Glass. These are novellas that are like fairy tale retellings. So if you're looking for a really short, fun, super spicy book to put on your romantasy-a-thon TBR, Mountains Made of Glass is perfection. Apples Dipped in Gold is still on my Kindle Unlimited TBR, but it's not coming out in the summertime anymore, which is big sad. Her fairy tale retelling series has to do with these, I forget if they're Fae or Elven brothers, but they live in this like enchanted forest. These brothers are not nice. They each have like their own things going on. The first one was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like, it's not giving ACOTAR at all. I know that we all, I think, collectively feel like Beauty and the Beast has been a bit overdone recently, but this one very loosely based off of that. And it seems like, if I read the summary for Apples Dipped in Gold, it seems like the female main characters are like taken against their will, and then they get involved with these Fae brothers. Each book is going to follow one of the 5 Fae brothers. I have Blood Oath, and this is by Morgan B. Lee. This just came out in March. It has to do with like a university setting. Bound University is the mandatory graduate school for anything that goes bump in the night. Not going isn't an option unless you want to be hunted down for illegally inhabiting the mortal world. All legacies, the descendants of the 4 houses, are required to attend because we're all cursed, and the only way to break our curses is through binding our hearts in a quintet. Becoming part of a quintet is a dream come true, a destiny fulfilled, a God's given, merciful blessing. For me, it's a hard pass. I can't be bound to anyone else. Trust me, it wouldn't end well. So when I'm placed in a quintet, I promptly reject all 4 of my matches for their own good. But these powerful, gorgeous, high-profile legacies have no idea how to handle rejection because the cutthroat Blood Fae shows me his soft side. The charming dragon shifter won't leave me alone. The unhinged nightmare prince calls me darling, and the gorgeous ice elemental is as overprotective as he is cold. They're the kind of deadly perfection that draws attention. It's why I choose. There's a bunch of Fae magical creatures, and it takes place at a university setting. Yes, please. This next one is a book that I have been dying to get to because I love desert-inspired, Middle Eastern-inspired fantasies in general, like not just fantasy romances. I just really enjoy books like that, like the An Ember in the Ashes series, like the Stardust Thief. So we have The Desert Heiress by Shoshana Rain. This is the first book in the 7-Star Empire series. Our main character is Liz, and she is determined to regain her family's power. There's 3 men standing in her way. In the desert port of Sanifra, the sunrose is lifeblood, a magic plant with the ability to grant people greater abilities. Sale of the plant is strictly forbidden, its growth restricted only to farms owned by the Empire's shipping company. Her family has been cut off by over a century, forced to advise but never lead. When the government cracks down on all illegal export, Liz is ready to seize her chance. To do so, she must best her 3 rivals. Philip, Dio, and Adrian each want to court her, control her, cajole her into doing what they want. Liz finds herself drawn into their complicated web, but to survive, she must learn if she can trust them or if she must cut them down before they can do the same to her. It's slow burn, why choose, with a bunch of spice and a guaranteed happily ever after at the end of the series. It contains both male-male and female-female scenes as well. I might need to start Romantasy-a-thon off by reading this book. Next up, we have a book that I honestly don't want to talk about because it's a shame that I haven't read it yet, but I think that this summer is the time to just binge read this entire series, and that is Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the Kindred's Curse series. Everyone has been screaming at the top of their lungs about the series. This one is YA, this next one. It's called Shattered Kingdom by Angelina J. Steffert. Our main character is sworn to a goddess, one with her blade, a heart yet unbroken. It would have been only one more year of training, one more year in the dust and the wind of the Kalma desert, but Gandret, Brayton's fate, storms in disguise as a beautiful stranger with a damning secret as he forces her into the service of the Lord who tore her from her mother's arms 10 years ago to commit her to the Order of the Vala. Gandret is left with a choice: run or work for a man she despises and earn the chance to see her family again. Trained with all the weapons she can wield in her hands, Gandret must learn that at the courts of the shattered kingdom of Seavase, her sword won't help her, especially when it is her own heart on the line. She's giving a character, like a main character, similar to Selena, in my opinion, from like a Throne of Glass, or like Cassia from the Shadows and Crowns series. I'm intrigued. Y'all, we have another book that I've been meaning to read for literally so long. I'm really exposing myself on all of the books that have been on my TBR literally forever and I haven't gotten to them yet. House of Bane and Blood by Alexis Maynard. This is the first book in the Order and Chaos series. It's a rivals to lovers adult fantasy romance. It's Peaky Blinders meets like Six of Crows. Those are the vibes. That's pretty much all I needed to know. Think of like the world and setting of Six of Crows. That is the city that they're in, the cityscape that they're in, and Peaky Blinders in terms of gangs warring. Will I get to it this summer? I freaking better. This next one is a young adult, but it has a romance that seems to be leading the forefront, and it also has an academic setting, which I think is so fun. It is called House of Ash and Shadow by Leah Stone. It's the first book in the Gilded City series. This book, our main character's name is Fallon. She's 17 years old, and she has this curse upon her that if anyone else touches her, she feels excruciating pain. And she has this love interest whose name is Arian. She breaks into the magical Gilded City. It seems like she meets Arian. He reaches out to touch her after they meet, and she doesn't feel excruciating pain for the first time in her whole life. She is blown away, taken aback. She starts to imagine a new future for herself. She never thought that she could really like be in a relationship, have a future with anyone, because no one can freaking touch her. However, that fantasy is short-lived because not only does Arian flee from her in disgust when he learns of her curse, he also reveals her existence to the powerful fae who want to hurt her. Fallon is then swept to a magical academy. There she learns the terrifying truth about her family history and her dark magic. Her life and the future of fae everywhere hang in the balance, and all while Fallon is dreaming of being touched by Arian Madden one more time before she dies. It's giving toxic, and I'm here for it. I have two series by Melissa K. Rorick on my Kindle Unlimited TBR, so I'll talk about them briefly because I feel like she is taking the world by storm, the book community by storm. The first one being Lady of Darkness, the second one being Reign of Shadows and Endings. Reign of Shadows and Endings kind of scares me because it's 750 pages, but my friend Katie from Katie's Book Nook read it, loved it, told me I would love it. I believe her. It has to do with a world where gods have favored children, but with that favor came the fear that their legacy would one day become too powerful and they would overthrow the gods. Devrim was created, a realm hidden amongst the stars. The gods gave their legacy the best of all the worlds, and then they left, a sworn agreement to never return and to never interfere. Forced into a life of servitude, the Fae are required to provide for the legacy in more ways than one. Every 5 years, the eligible Fae are gathered for the selection and assigned to serve in one of the 6 kingdoms. To be chosen as the personal source for a kingdom's heir is the greatest honor, and for the first time in a millennia, all 6 kingdoms have heirs choosing a source, but their selections could tip the power balance a little bit too far. This is such an interesting setup. It's like the gods have their favored children, people, whatever, so it's like demigods, and then the Fae in this series are actually not the ones that are the most powerful beings in the whole world. The Fae are in servitude to these demigods, and that dynamic just sounds so juicy. And then Lady of Darkness, which I won't go super into because I feel like it's been literally everywhere, but it is an enemies to lovers romance. It's an adventure novel. It is new adult, so it has spice. It has possessive fae, wicked witches, sexy shifters, and arrogant vampires. I love that this has vampires as well. Give me all the creatures. Next, I'm very excited for this one. This will be a new release coming out in July. I actually don't know if it's going to be on Kindle Unlimited, but I put it in here because it's going to be fantasy romance of an author that we all know and love with her Ice Planet Barbarians series. Ruby Dixon is releasing Bound to the Shadow Prince. I'm shooketh to my chorus. In order to protect her kingdom from the wrath of a vengeful goddess, Princess Kandra must remain locked inside a tower for 7 years. 7 long years without a friend or a lover by her side, and shut inside the tower with her, a Felion, the enemy of her people, a fearsome warrior race complete with wings, claws, and fangs. Nemeth is terrifying, cruel, and disturbingly magnetic. Period. Period! I'm already there. She should kill him for his supplies, but she's desperate for his company and his touch. The trope of I know I should kill you, but I don't want to is everything in the whole world. Next up is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I apologize. I tried to keep authors' books together if I was mentioning multiple from authors. Remember when I told you To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, the romance was like a little bit questionable. To Snap a Silver Stem was going to be the determining factor of whether I continue on with that series. The thing is, I love her writing so much. It was just the romance in To Bleed a Crystal Bloom. If you know what I'm talking about, like, if you know, you know. I have heard everybody screaming about When the Moon Hatched, and I haven't started it yet because it's over 700 pages and I wanted to finish one of her series before I start another series. The fact that this book has dragons, it has new adult, I'm excited to finally get to Sarah A. Parker's spice, because To Bleed a Crystal Bloom was just a gaslighting slow burn fest of nothingness, and I haven't gotten like spice from her yet, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be everything and I'm going to be screaming about it. So When the Moon Hatched. I have seen, actually I think I saw this one also on Charlie's Book Recs, Until the Stars Fall by Vanessa Rassinen. This has slow burn fated mates, but there's a fake engagement that she has to play along with through all of this. And there is a growly yet noble Fey prince and the sunshine human who might just be the death of him if he doesn't fall for her first. The series will be a series of interconnected standalones, which I also really like. I'm curious about how it's gonna set up all of the other couples. It's called the Immortal Reveries series. It sounds like a very fast read, and it sounds like a bit of a silly, goofy time as well. It'll be a good like palette cleanser book for Romantasy-a-thon. I mentioned the Shadows and Crown series. Once I finish with that series, also on my Kindle Unlimited TBR by SM Gaither, Flame and Sparrow. This is a prequel series to the Shadows and Crown series, but this is a Court of the Mar novel. She's chunky. I'm obsessed with SM Gaither's writing. I'm also obsessed with her spice and her romances. They literally make me kick my feet. So Flame and Sparrow is on this list as well. Last year I read Blood Price, which is the prequel novel to the Blood Grace series, and I need to continue with it because the vampires in this series are so unique. I think it's so interesting and fun when an author can bring something new to the table with an immortal being, with like a magical creature that we've experienced in so many other books, and they can make that world and make that creature their own. I fell in love with Vela Roth's vampires in Blood Price. I got a little bit nervous with Blood Mercy. I did actually start it and I think I got about 15% of the way through, but it's very slow and it's very descriptive writing. I will definitely need to get the audiobook, I think, to get through Blood Mercy. All of that to say, Blood Mercy is on my Kindle Unlimited TBR. I really hope to read the series. So many people who I know, love, and trust love the series, especially Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy really likes the series, and she is a bit critical and picky with her fantasy romances, so if she loves it, I need to like give it an actual try and get into it and at least read the first book. Okay, the final 5 books, y'all. We have been here for a minute. Stolen Enchantress by Amber Argyle. This is a fairy tale retelling. It's kind of giving like Little Red Riding Hood because it has to do with an enchanted forest, but it's also sort of giving Beauty and the Beast. We have the Forbidden Forest. Any girl who goes into the Forbidden Forest is never seen again. except the one who did should have been paying more attention to the trees looming over the family's fields. But now Selah is gone. Knowing full well the danger of the forest and its beast, Larkin goes after her. With her sister clutched in her arms, she manages to escape, but not before discovering the truth lurking between the wicked bows. She may have evaded the beast once, but with the full force of his magic now fixated on her, she isn't sure how much longer she can resist. It is a young adult book, even though it kind of sounds like it would be spicy. Maybe we will all wish that this was spicy, but it is a fairy tale retelling. I usually love Forbidden Forest type tropes. And I'm hoping that it's like creepy, like a Small Favors type forest. Another young adult that I have been dying to get to is called The Hunt by Frost K. Also giving a main character similar to a Selena Sardathian from Throne of Glass or a Cassia from the Shadows and Crown series. We have our main character, Tempest. Death has marked her from birth. She is orphaned, penniless, and enslaved to this group of assassins that have trained her from a very young age because they're the only ones that would take her in. They're called the King's Hounds. She just lives and breathes off of her rage and trying to keep her mother's memory alive. But becoming the first ever female assassin isn't enough. Now she must obtain the heart of her kingdom's most feared enemy, the Jester, a deadly shapeshifter hidden in a land twisted by myth and darkness. Revenge is never easy or cheap. Tempest is willing to sacrifice everything just to see justice served, even her own soul and freedom. What else do I need to say? Obviously, I'm here for it. I love main characters like this. If the writing is there, a main character like this can easily become a new favorite book for me. This is a well-known and well-loved series, the Artifacts of Oranos series, the first book being Trials of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. It's pitched as The Bachelor meets Hunger Games. Immediately, yes. I love trials. I love a deadly competition. I also think it's interesting that there's 10 women competing in this. Only one can win the Sun King's heart. Laura has endured 12 long years of torment under the Aurora King's rule. Her only desire is to get free and pay him back for every moment of misery. So she's literally trying to win this contest to be mean to this man. Absolutely. And now, because I have mentioned so many fae romantasies on this list, let me end the last two with a witchy one and a pirate one. We have Autumn of the Grimoire by J.L. Vampa. This is the first book in the Sisters Solstice series. What a tongue twister. This is a Reaper and Witch Victorian Gothic romantasy filled with lush scenery, a dark enemies to lovers romance, and occult secrets galore. Jan from Jan Agaton also rated this 4 stars and said it's for fans of Hocus Pocus. I don't really care that it's the summer. I feel like at some point I'm going to get really tired of reading fae romantasy. As one does, and switching to something more witchy will be a really nice change of pace. And then the last one is like a piratey inspired book because it's summertime and I just realized that I think this is the only pirate romantasy book I have on this list. There are absolutely more. Let me just also mention, because I love Claire Sager. Claire Sager has a pirate romantasy series that I have been meaning to read. But this one that I'm going to talk about is On These Black Sands by Vanessa Rassinen. Our love interest is very morally gray. He doesn't mind killing people. He just prefers to do it on his own terms, but the pirates have no say in who they kill on this island. The council orders it. The pirates obey. This arrangement has kept Declan from setting foot on these shores for years until a bit of bad luck forces him to return, but it may prove a lucrative stop if the rebels' information is true. Find the dagger, escape this life, but only if this damn stowaway doesn't ruin everything first. It is a high seas tale of deceit, legends, and love, and delivers a deliciously gray hero, a relatable heroine, and a found family that you will root for. There's also a one-bed trope, and it's a slow burn. I feel like sometimes, I mean, it says it's a slow burn, but it's also 436 pages, so I question that part of it. It sounds like tea. So my loves, that was actually more than 25 books because there were some honorable mentions that I just threw in there. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you are planning on reading any of these. Let me know which Kindle Unlimited romantasies that are absolute top priority on your TBR. If I didn't mention them in here, please leave them in the comments down below so I can just continue growing this list, because it's endless and it will always be endless. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the comments and I will see you in my next one. Toodles!